Sunday Night Safran. Religion, politics, culture, and lisping.
Salam, shalom, Pax, dear listener, and Father Bob.
And to you, sir.
Tonight we're going to be talking to Paul Dillon, and we burnt our audience a couple of weeks ago. Dear listener, we burnt you because we said he was going to come on and talk about religion and drugs.
He diddle.
And he didn't. We didn't deliver. We tried to gloss over it and hope you didn't remember. But now that we have got him back, we can tell you we will have him. We have some dude, Richard Walsh, he's going to be talking about eulogies.
Yeah, that means
because you just
speeches.
never know. Because you're lying there comfortably now, thinking, "Oh, everything's pretty super," but you know, someone could have collapsed in the other room whilst you're lying there. You might, in fact, in like just about 20 minutes, like you're lying there and you think, "Oh, I think I might go get a cookie from the kitchen," and as you go to the kitchen, you'll see, I don't know,
somebody
your
lying
sister,
on the floor,
your auntie, I don't know, whatever.
Don't
collapsed.
be too personal about this.
Yes,
Could have been your lover.
Yeah, or your lover. So,
but a cookie stuck in her throat or his throat, depending on your... Isn't it preference, isn't it? Not for cookies, but for gender.
Yes. I think I understand what you're talking about. We have James Reston. He's going to be talking about Richard Nixon and the Quakers.
Thank you.
I bet you... I've got a feeling, because I said to the producer, there's been a bit of... Because there's been a producer changeover, so there's going to be like for the next couple of weeks, if there's any screw-up, like he can blame it on the previous producer.
Yes.
And I've got a feeling that I said to the last producer, I go, listen, can we only get this author on about Richard Nixon, who's a former president of America?
Yeah.
Can we only get him on if he can talk about Richard Nixon and the
Quakers?
Because the Quakers, that was a religious order that Richard Nixon grew up, and the Quakers are meant to be really peaceful and the nicest people. Well, I've read the book and you haven't. But I've got a feeling that the producer didn't, so we're going to get this guy on, and I'll say, oh, anyway, so
what about
Richard Nixon was a Quaker, and he's going,
well, what's that got to do with
I guess so.
This is about...
So can you tell us about the Quaker?
You'll say, but Frost.
Yeah. Anyway, so that could be a really poor interview. But then we have rapping Franciscan friar, Father Stan Fortuna, and he's a rapping friar, but he's not a comedian. I've got a feeling...
You've got to be careful with him. For God's sake, don't say to him what you said to that bloke who wrote the book.
Which was
on risk.
Yes.
Well, thanks very much for being on the show after having written this absolutely ridiculous book. What the...
Anyway, we have to...
Everybody hasn't got the sense of humour that we have down in the Antipodes. See what I mean?
We've got to go now, Father Bob.
Yeah, I know.
We've got to play a song. We've got someone on the line from the other side of the world.
And the guest book says don't talk to them for only 2 minutes. Give them time.
Yeah, party people. Here we go.
Ozomatli, Cut Chemist Sweet. John, Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Many, the demographic for Triple J, because it's youth radio, is they're quite drug-addled.
Oh, yeah.
Very big bucket bong kind of slice of the pie when they're put up at the Triple J kind of demographic meetings of who our audience is. Bucket bong smokers, big slice, and skull bong smokers, big slice too, which is why we have an expert to talk about drugs and religion, Paul Dillon. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, guys.
What's he talking about, skull bongs?
Now, everyone knows about drugs in general, I guess, but many religious groups try to justify drug use by saying they have a sacramental purpose, do they not?
Oh, definitely. I mean, if you look at the world's religions, there is lots of them. I think all of them have something to do with drugs in some way, even if it's just to say you shouldn't use them.
Not my lot.
Well, definitely. I mean, the Christian religion, of course, is all about not using drugs apart from alcohol, where wine is very much linked to the entire, alcohol is very much linked to the entire religious system.
So, Bob, why is that for the blood of Christ? It has to be actual alcohol. It can't just be grape juice.
Allegedly by the Roman Catholic Church.
And why would that be?
Allegedly, because the Protestants would say grape juice with no alcohol.
Paul, do you know why? Seeing Bob's not going to answer me.
I'm saying because it keeps the liquid without, it stops it going off.
And what about historically? Why do you think the Catholic Church has arrived, or a church is saying it has to be something that can make your head a bit wonky, like alcohol, and not just grape juice?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why, but I mean, there are some religions, some of those, particularly the American sort of Christian groups, where it must be grape juice. They're not actually allowed to use to have the intoxicating effect of alcohol.
Lots of indigenous religions and shamanic religions, they're into taking drugs to try to connect to the divine.
Well, I think this is the most interesting area. I mean, we even have a special term for these substances. They're called entheogens. This was sort of coined in 1979, and it's meant to be. It refers to psychoactive substances used in a religious context, and there are many of them. Usually, it's plant matter, so it's simple things like magic mushrooms, which contain psilocybin, through to peyote, which contains mescaline, and then, of course, even morning glory seeds. So, and there's so many others. I mean, even cannabis fits into to being an entheogen in certain contexts.
And how do they justify, what is their sort of their rule book of how they're saying what is happening? Are they acknowledging that the drug is having an effect, or are they saying, oh, that's just incidental and I'm just connecting with the divine?
Well, that's what it's all about. I mean, the actual definition of the word entheogen is that which causes God to be within an individual. And definitely it's all about connecting.
But do they think it's magic, or these groups, or do they acknowledge that, there's some scientific side to it all, which chewing on this affects my body biologically in this way?
Well, I think if you went back to when these substances have been used for as long as man has been able to go up and pull a piece of bark off a tree, I'm sure that they thought it was something spiritual, something magical, something divine that was doing it. I mean, the religions now, and I mean, I was very fortunate. About 5, maybe longer than that, maybe 10 years ago, I went to America and went to one of the Native American churches. Sort of ceremonies involving peyote, and it was the most fascinating thing I think I've ever done in my life in terms of drugs. And I've been to crack houses in New York and done a whole pile of stuff, but this was really amazing to see these people who absolutely, these were not looking at it as a botanical sort of act. It was very much a divine intervention that they were taking part in.
The Sufis, the Islamic mystics, do they smoke cannabis?
Oh, I didn't know that one. That's an interesting one. That's a strange one for the Islamic people, because, of course, they frown even on alcohol, and the only real drug that they're okay with is tobacco, which is sort of strange if you think about it, because it kills more people than any other. But maybe. I have no idea. Cannabis is interesting. It's in a whole variety of different cultures, and historically it's been around for so long.
Rastafarians like it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they once again they see that's definitely cannabis, and they see it in a very spiritual way. I mean, they refer to it as ganja, which is what we see our indigenous people refer it to, and they see it as a sacred gift from Jah, and it's actually used to communicate with God, which is what you see with many of these religions.
And opium used to be very popular in Eastern countries, but was it not just a kind of nationhood type thing? There was some tying into the spiritualities of the place.
Yeah, you see opium occasionally, but I mean the problem, of course, with opium is it's a very because it's a depressant, it tends to stupefy, so it tends to knock you out, and so you don't see so much opium discussed in the whole area of drugs and religion. It's much it tends to be far more the hallucinogenic drugs that you're talking about. And I think most importantly about the use of these hallucinogens, they're used in an incredibly structured way. You don't see these guys just going and picking up some morning glory seeds and having a quick chew of them. I mean, there was definitely a preparation time beforehand. It was done in a controlled environment when they took it, and then they were looked after for periods of time afterwards as well. This wasn't, let's go to a nightclub and quickly have a chew on something. It was definitely controlled, and because they realised that it was a very intense experience that could actually cause some trauma to some people.
What's in the pipe that the American Indians pass around? Is that ordinary tobacco?
Look, it's a really tough one, that Native American. It was definitely tobacco was the big one, but the Navajo Indians in America were known to have some sort of relationship with peyote, and that's really where the Native American church comes from. But I think most of it that you see in the movies and stuff, the Pass the Peace Pipe, was most tobacco. Probably tobacco.
So what kind of, just elaborating on something you touched on before, what kind of drugs have been used by Australia's Indigenous populations in the past for their spiritual benefits?
It's a really hard one, that one, because if you look at, if you try to find anything about the Indigenous populations of Australia, because their shamanistic rituals are fairly secret. You can't really find out too much about them.
You can't do them as an observer. You can't go and join in.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to actually get the information from them about what they actually did. There are a number of different. I mean, there are many plants in Australia that have some hallucinogenic effects, and so there's talk that they were used. But in terms of having a great deal of information on their use of this, I mean, it's very interesting when you look at the Maoris of New Zealand. They're one of the indigenous populations that appear to have really had no sort of psychoactive drugs linked to their culture, and Indigenous Australians maybe had some, but we don't know too much about it.
Father Bob, drugs definitely out?
Don't know. My lot, I don't know. You see, my lot says they're no good for you because we become rationalist, of course, and that means that the brain has got to be able to work at full steam ahead without drugs. But that's only the rational. I presume that Paul's talking about the other side of the brain, which is the relational.
Of course, people argue that people like Joseph Smith, the Mormon guy, and Moses and Muhammad, they were all just whacked off their heads on drugs. Have you got any opinion
definitely.
on that?
I mean, you definitely hear that.
Yeah, but you've got no evidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, was your Jesus, for example, whacked on something?
Oh, sorry, how did I leave out defaming your religion? Sorry about that.
That's what I thought. You slipped there a bit, you know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting why wine is alcohol isn't frowned on in the Christian church, and it's because Jesus and other biblical figures actually drank wine, and so that's often the defence that the temperance movement put in for small amounts of alcohol was because Jesus drank it.
My father once had a fight with Rabbi Groner Sr. when my dad was in religious education at like primary school or whatever, and because Rabbi Groner Sr. was smoking a cigarette, and my dad was like, seeing the Jews are so stringent about all the rules of kosherness of what you put in your mouth, how come you're just allowed to smoke some random cigarette? Like, why doesn't it apply to that when it applies to every other last thing you put in your mouth? And I think he just clipped my dad across the ear.
Oh, that's a sensible response.
Yeah. So I think it might be like, your wine type of thing. It's like if the people high up on the pyramid are kind of into it, then suddenly there's
but
a
it's
bit of wiggle
interesting.
room.
I know you want to wind up, but it's interesting. The Roman Catholics insist on fortified wine, whereas the Anglicans, you see, use unfortified wine or claret. See what I mean?
Well, that's
so
not
the Catholics
interesting,
are supposed to be doing it only for practical purpose because it keeps forever. Can't go off.
Paul Dillon, you are curating, is that the right word?
I was a curator, yes.
Drugs, a Social History, on display at Melbourne Museum from 9th of May 2008. So is that still going, or have we just interviewed you too late?
No, it's going for quite a long time, and it's been travelling the country, and now it's come to Melbourne. And I really strongly advise people to go and have a look. It's a really interesting sort of look at where drugs fit in the Australian culture.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, guys.
This is Sunday Night Safran. with John Safran and Father Bob.
Hey, that was the presets. This Boy is in Love. Jono?
I thought I'd do a little, it's like an offshoot. It's a spin-off of my Clash of Political Correctness, but it's not quite the same thing. You know how much I like that? I also like things where, on the surface level, there's one factor to either a person or an organisation, like some real kind of positive, community-minded factor to them, that implies they must hold all these other values as well, but they don't. To give an extreme example, it's like, vegetarian. Like, if you're a vegetarian, you must also possibly compare, a concern about Indigenous issues. You're against violence and stuff because you're a vegetarian. Or Hitler was a vegetarian.
Truly.
Yes, but that's not my point. I'm just making the point. I like
God,
it.
that was a bit full frontal,
So I was reading about this organic coffee place in America, and it's called Mate Factor or Mate Factor, and their whole thing is it's all about the values of living an organic life and returning back to Earth. And why are you looking at me like that?
Eating dirt, yes.
Eating dirt. And their website, it's all about how their coffees go through the most, pure. They're very careful, nothing artificial, it touches it ever. And they're run by this group called 12 Tribes, what they would say is that they're like a Christian sect, which they are. They're a Christian sect, but they believe in kind of like returning to the earth. So people look at them and they've got like beards and stuff, and outsiders go, oh, they're a quaint little I think maybe they're like the Amish. They've got their own way.
Yes,
maybe they're a bit
all right.
They're a bit on their own and stuff. It's not how we do it, but they do. But other people say they're an insane cult. Why are you looking at me like that?
Go on. But these 12 tribes aren't your 12 tribes.
No, they call themselves the 12 Tribes.
Oh.
But they're clearly referring to it in the Bible.
Right.
And former members have put up on because the former members are furious. And one of the things they're furious about is whenever this group sets up an organic coffee place in a community, they always get publicity, like in the local paper, that implies that, oh, isn't this wonderful? This new little hippie Christian community set up. So former members have started putting up their material and their philosophies of the group up on the internet, like with everything else. And you know how, there's people who are, into the Bible, like 12 Tribes are into the Bible, like the Catholics and the ones who are, a bit, like a literalist. So they're, for example, they'll go, well, listen, we have to be against homosexuality, because that's what it says in Leviticus 20:13. Yes. We can't have women as priests because that's what it says in the scriptures. We just can't. It's God's put it down. We can't. Anyone who does it is going against God. Guess what 12 Tribes, the organic hippie coffee shop people, believe is an immovable policy because it was put down in the Bible. Guess.
If your right hand scandalises you, cut it off.
Slavery.
Oh.
They actually have literature, the 12 Tribes organic coffee, where they're furious, not only at Martin Luther King, the black activist, but even Abraham Lincoln. Who the hell's not even the Ku Klux Klan is still into slavery. No. And they are saying that people like Abraham Lincoln and also Martin Luther King, who obviously slavery was out, they are going against the Bible because the Bible has set up that there are different strands of people and some people are allowed to be slaves and some people aren't. Yeah. And how dare Abraham Lincoln go against God by freeing the
children of
slaves?
Ham, isn't that? Allegedly are the slaves.
Yeah, they go into that wacky... Hang on, you're a member of this group too. Because now that's ringing all these bells. Yeah. I don't think So up the front of the shop, organic coffee people. Yeah. Untouched by the multinational corporations, their coffee. Everything good. And then behind, they're pro-black slavery.
They'll need slaves to get the beans, the has-beens.
That really blows out of the water the previous coffee... front that everyone liked, which was how Gloria Jean's coffee. There's people on the board from Hillsong Pentecostal.
Yes, of course.
Well, that's so not interesting anymore because now there's a coffee shop that endorses black slavery.
Starbucks isn't gathered surely by black slaves.
No,
of course not. Now listen here. What about? I've got something here.
Go ahead.
I know you're nervous. But what about this manna from heaven for a site on the web? GodTube, an evangelical twist on YouTube run from Plano, Texas, has generated so many hits that a London-based hedge fund has invested in it. Look at that. Invested $30 million. And they talk about Jesus 2.0. See what I mean?
Really?
Now, mainly parodies, it says, but never blasphemies, like this show. Parody, but never blasphemy. So I'm glad they've taken this. Have they talked to you to get the rights?
No.
All right, that's just my little... Or the Reef of the Dead is a diver's haven. You mix ashes, your beloved ashes, with cement, and you drop it down into this special site that the man has got ownership of.
Sounds like it's soprano kind of.
Beautiful. See? Cement boots mixed with your beloved's ashes. That's because we're talking to Mr. Walsh tonight about eulogies. That's all I mentioned it for.
And he will be coming up next.
Reverend and the Makers with heavyweight champion John Triple J Sunday Night Safran.
Because there wasn't enough death last week on this show, we've got one more death guest, Richard Walsh, author of Great Australian Eulogies. How are you?
Very good, John. How are you?
Good. Now, eulogies, they're a bit like the folk art of speaking. Folk art being where people who don't usually, put together things on paper or put together a sculpture suddenly, for whatever reason, are forced to do something or inadvertently do something artistic. And I guess a lot of people who don't like to write and don't like to tell a story and don't like to speak are suddenly just thrown into it with a eulogy, with the death of a loved one.
They discover their inner eloquence under such circumstances. I think we all have eloquence. Professional writers can be eloquent at the touch of a feather, but every person has some eloquence in them, and sometimes when events are very touching for them, they are able to deliver fantastic tributes to people that they care for. So I've collected together some of those from people who are unknown, but of course also people who are accustomed to public speaking. Also, at times, sometimes people who are accustomed to public speaking give terrible eulogies because they're so polished that sort of like meaningless, like ministers of religion have to do it all the time and
you think
sound
too
as though it's a
hard about
factory.
it. You think too hard about it, which you wouldn't do if you weren't a professional.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I think it's a bit like we used to talk about in film, the Leyland Brothers effect. Sometimes, it's really good to be a bit rough around the edges. It's a bit like your early films, to look unpolished, has an air of authenticity about it. And that's not forced, that's the way it is. And sometimes people are so polished that they aren't able to summon up authentic feelings and express those. So, yes, eulogies are the oral version of an obituary. They're what people say at funerals, and they're wonderfully, at their best, they're wonderfully intimate and wonderfully authentic.
I do funerals. I'm Bob Maguire, the other one.
Yeah.
I do a lot of funerals, 50 years and that, but I agree with you because I let them go because I believe it's the family's funeral and the clergyman can be there, but it's not the clergyman's funeral with a family just being there. And when you invite somebody to stand up and say something, would anybody like... You get pearls.
Yes, absolutely.
Pearls.
But the terrible thing is, some people... My grandmother, who was Catholic and had a funeral in a Catholic church, but by the time she died, she was a wonderful old lady. By the time she died, none of her contemporaries were around. She was a country woman who'd come to the city in the last few years of her life. So the local priest did his best, but he didn't actually call her by the name that everyone calls her. She had some old-fashioned names and a name that we all called her. And so, he was kind of working off a brief and like a barrister, like barristers in court. That's incredibly embarrassing because they get all wrong. No one tugs on their gown and says, "Oi, that's all rubbish."
Made me nervous now because I've got one tomorrow, and I'm always nervous because I think, dear God, don't let me put the wrong name in this spot. Because if you're reading from a manual for civil celebrants sometimes, Delhi Messenger's book,
Yes.
it says, here is a nice generic speech for a woman of 70. And then you look in the thing and it says, by the way, N. And you think, oh, sweet Jesus, who is N, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
if you're a Virgo like me, you can talk yourself into saying the wrong name in 5 seconds flat.
Well, so it's just the thing is that sometimes people are a bit overwhelmed, and they, when you ask them what was her name, and they'll give you her kind of proper, if you like, baptismal name, and they don't bother to tell you, but actually everyone called her Millie or something, or Betty or something. You know, so the whole funeral's based on the thing that her name's Elizabeth.
Well, Dan,
is it wrong to plan a eulogy whilst the person is still alive? And I'm thinking, because I don't want to be caught... do you reckon I'll be asked for your...
Caught short?
Yeah, do you reckon I'll be asked to say something at
my funeral?
At your
you won't.
Can I, if I want to?
No, you can't.
What happens if I come along?
Because I'll put it in me will. Don't let Safran speak.
That will be the only thing in your will.
A lot of clergymen say in their wills, don't let the Archbishop speak.
This is such hypocrisy, because you've told me before, and even on air, and we can go back to the... You've told me I'm allowed to do a prank at your funeral.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
Look,
you said I was...
Richard Walsh, Australia's leading, for God's sake, commentator.
Maybe, can you tell us a passage, maybe to go out on us, Richard Walsh, can you please tell us a passage from one of your favourite eulogies in this book?
Of a poem to go out on, or a passage?
No,
or
whatever.
For me to read?
Something from the book. Something from the book.
You want a reading right now?
Well,
I'm happy to give it to you.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, happy to give. The most moving is it has to be, and this is maybe a tribute to Bob, because this is a Catholic lady who's lost her 8-month-old baby, and that's a shocking thing to happen to anyone, and a great, I think, test of a woman's faith. And I'm sorry, I'm talking slower than usual to try and turn it up. A woman who gave birth to a premature baby, and really the baby tried very, very hard to live. And I'll just finish. Do you want me to? I'll just read the last bit of it.
Yes, please do.
It's addressed actually to Jackson, who's the little baby. And she says, "You are our reason for eating, sleeping, living. You made our lives make sense, but who can make sense of this? Perhaps we had you on borrowed time, a little angel sent to teach us that nothing else matters except love. Daddy and I have asked whether it would have been better to lose you right at the beginning when you were born far too early, and therefore avoid all the pain of the past few months. The answer is no. We are better people for having known you and having held you and having loved you, and we have been inspired by your strength of character. You are our hero, Jackson.
Beautiful.
You took your final breath here next to my heart, and it's here that you will lie. We know there's nothing in our life to be afraid of, for now we have faced the worst."
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And he won't let us do this. He won't let us do this, but don't forget, is it Keating's speech at the Unknown Soldiers' Welcome Back to Australia? Do you remember that?
No, I don't. I don't remember many other of his speeches because they're pretty memorable. Actually, I've included Bob Carr's speech on the Bali to Bali victims, which was partly written by Bob Ellis, and it's fantastic too.
We've got to go, Richard. We've got to go.
There we go.
Well, thanks for
leave
that.
you with those thoughts.
Thanks for that.
Bye-bye.
Good on you.
Great Australian eulogies.
Triple J. We love Triple J. We love music.
Yes. Music is my life.
Indeed, you should have that scene too.
We love music.
Triple J.
Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
What about Kaki King? You didn't ask me to tell the back announce the song. Kaki King. Pull me out alive.
Thank you very much, Father Bob. Now,
He's getting a bit snooty here, listeners.
me?
Yeah.
Why?
Getting a bit cheeky.
What did I do? Why are you angry with me?
I'm not angry with you at all. I'm just saying a little bit of respect. And then you said, no, the listeners like us being irreverent.
Bob's angry because he thought because our last guest was
Richard Walsh
and talking about eulogies that he should have been on waffling on for half an hour in some sort of like pious fashion,
and we could have promoted the book so the kiddies could read.
Book. For God's sakes, Bob, this show, it's not like
Great Australian
Isn't it
Eulogies, written by Richard
Do you
Walsh.
understand that the point of this show,
One of
Father Bob,
Australia's
of being on
leading-
the radio, is to entertain the tens of thousands of people? It's not about you've got some friend and you should be nice to him and bring him in. And this isn't community radio.
What
where
is
we
it?
do
I was told this was Channel 31.
You just have to keep in mind that we have tens of thousands of listeners, and that's what you're meant to be doing. It's not like, oh, this person's a nice environmentalist. Bring them in and they can bore our audience and us to tears for 30 minutes, but it doesn't matter.
You've been reading the guest book, obviously.
Can we move on? Listen, I can't believe this is... I thought this show was going to break down with the new producer, but in a different way. Dear listener, if you don't know, our old producer, Serpil, a female, has left and has been replaced by David, a male.
A bloke.
And my friend said to me, my female friend said to me, that said, be careful.
The Serb.
It, in fact, was the Serb, now that you mention it, said to me, watch out, because if there's a woman in a work environment, it kind of leavens it all.
Oh, it does. She was very
But
good.
if it's men alone,
Yeah,
then things
we're
will
at
happen.
It now. We're fighting in the first bloody...
Then things will happen such as you'll start farting.
Yeah, but
Because if there's a woman around in a workplace, the blokes are like, oh, on some subconscious
all
level,
right.
I can't
All right.
fart or burp. And I can't walk around scratching myself.
Or burble, like you.
But as soon as it's just men, suddenly you're going to be...
Well, we're like, this is like the three of us. Now, he's all right,
You're going
David,
to start
your
picking your
producer's
nose.
all right.
You're going to start picking your nose because you're just going to be... I've got no woman here to impress. Bob, I have a question for you. You know
If you throw the rapping Franciscan friar off, I won't be back.
Are you really upset that because he was
Richard
on...
Walsh is Australia's leading something.
But he was on for like 5 minutes. What is your problem?
He published Oz, which is a famous...
But we had him on and we
revolutionary-
talked about his book and we said what the book was. So just... Why are you angry? I don't understand. I've never seen this side
You were
of-
making faces at me
What, during his interview?
during the interview.
That was because the only reason I was making faces, I was thinking, how are we going to ease out of this into something else after we're talking about dead children?
And then he talked about a dead child, and then away you went, immediately threw the switch, and good night. Richard Walsh, thanks for being on the program.
I didn't kill the child.
Wasn't me, Richard, it was Safran. Anyway, yeah, righto, so we should turn this show into a bloody brawl.
Now...
That's what you want? Come outside.
Now,
I'll do it on air. I mean, we can go outside and then you can come back after I punch you in the throat and you can sound even more squeaky.
I've never seen this side of you before. Why are you angry at me?
Because we should treat Richard Walsh with respect.
I thought we did. Listeners, can you please go to Triple J?
Thank you, he said to Father Bob, for a start.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as he said that, you went pear-shaped.
Listeners, can you please go to triplej.net.au/Safran and confirm to Bob that we didn't come across as rude to Richard Walsh? Or if we did, put that to
I
him.
didn't. Can't pin it on me.
Well,
There's another one
well,
I'll have to ring up afterwards and apologise.
This is becoming really bleak, Father Bob.
Boring.
Bleak. Now, we'll go to a song and I'll come over and tickle you, Father Bob, to try to cheer you up
Come
again.
near me. Mark Ronson with Stop Me, Triple J's Sunday Night Safran.
So much to talk to you about, Bob. This week, your people, the Vaticanists,
Yes.
said it's okay to believe in aliens.
Yes. Yes.
Believing that the universe may contain alien life does not contradict a faith in God.
That's
the
right.
Vatican's chief astronomer.
Yep. Parallel universes, the relational matrix, all that, love it. But you, of course, narrow-minded you,
Me?
yeah, insist on, in the beginning and all that.
I have no opinion. You know, there's
do you
something
mean
you
you have
don't
no
have an
opinion?
opinion. I haven't thought about it hard enough whether I believe in aliens or not.
Doesn't it matter to you a lot whether there's aliens or not?
Well, I don't know about my lot.
You
whether
do
it
know.
matters.
You've been steeped in it. What do they say?
I have
about-
to think about it.
Will you?
There's like things you don't have opinions on. It's not like, just ring me up and, hey, John, what do you think about abortion? I haven't thought about it. I'm a guy. I've never had to have an abortion either way. I haven't really weighed it up. There's only 24 hours in the day. I can't have an opinion about aliens and abortion and everything. Like something that I just haven't thought about. So leave me alone.
Well, that's the end of that, isn't it? Deep and meaningful show this is, eh?
Now,
All I know is it all started in 1947 after World War II. Thank you. All I know is redemption. Doesn't matter.
can you please, Bob, if someone comes by the studio
Yeah.
and comes in and offers us little buns or whatever, like
Yeah.
happened before.
Well, you
when
grab the bun.
Caroline Tran came in.
Yeah.
Can you tell me not to? Because
Yeah, but that won't make any
you know
difference.
what I committed to this week?
What? Losing what?
You know the woman who's painting my picture?
Yeah, what did she say?
I said, because she asked me to, because she's painting me for the Archibald.
Yes.
She was a finalist last year.
Yes.
And she
I thought it was Rolf Harris.
And she requested that I do a top-off portrait.
Yes.
I said yes, but you got to give me 2 months. So I can't be having buns in the next 2 months, or else I'm gonna have like love handles in this portrait.
No, you'll have breasts, which
So,
will make an interesting
dear listener,
photo.
if you
a
see me
picture.
walking down the street, about to like walk into like maybe
A bun shop.
a bun shop, a cookie emporium,
So, John,
a candy cane store.
over the road. John!
If you see me about sticking my hand into like a big vat of humbugs, is that
Yeah.
what they're called?
Yeah,
If you see-
humbugs.
If you see me down at Sovereign Hill,
Yes.
and I'm at that the place
Yes.
where they make the
Yeah.
humbugs.
You're going to take your shirt off for this woman.
She asked me. She's a proper artist.
Yeah, but what do you take? When someone asks you to do something, you just do it.
But she's a legitimate artist. It's not pornography or anything.
Well, it will be if you do it.
What do you mean?
You know,
what kind-
you'll
what-
frighten the kiddies. The Archibalds. Be very frightened. Yeah, I'll stop you. But listen,
Do you know? I have gone nude before. As a listener, emailed into me.
Tell the kiddies go to bed. Kiddies, go to bed now because Uncle John's going to expose himself. Literally.
Now, and they were talking about how I streaked through Jerusalem. That's
Yes.
something I know. When I was in America last year, I had to do a naked scene for what I was filming.
Oh, yeah? You can't leak it.
No, I can leak it. I'm not putting it on the internet or whatever. But I did this. There was this activity in America, which was, gay
Porn.
gay naked yoga. This group that
Yoga?
This group got together once a week and they did yoga, and it was all legitimate yoga, but it was
Yes.
like it was naked, and they were all gay. So I turned up to that, and
What, just dropped in and...
what do you
You
really?
invited or what?
Yes, like the producer rang beforehand, and yes, there was a boom mic operator there.
Well,
So-
that's all by accident, of course.
No, what's your point? Yes,
You go to the gymnasium, you've got gay blokes beside you peddling away on some...
Oh, that's what you're getting at.
No, I'm only letting the kiddies know that we can see through this. See?
Do you think I'm like Eminem, where because he's clearly gay and he kind of covers it up with all these layers or whatever? Do you think there's something similar
Well,
going
I'm
on here?
suspending judgment. I'm not too sure what you are, to be honest. But if this woman can talk you into taking your shirt off...
Anyway, dear listeners,
For 2 months you've
if
got to
you
go
see
without
me-
cookies.
Yeah, no cookies for 2 months. So if you see me, just wrap me. Feel free to insult me or anything. It's fine. Because I really need to look okay for this portrait. I was reading an article this week in the Times, and it's all about there's a growing boy boob problem. Obesity has been blamed for the growing problem of boy boobs, cases of teenage boys with breasts so well developed that surgery is needed to reduce them.
Yeah? Can they feed babies or what?
I don't think so. So it's got all the, it doesn't even have the benefits
Yeah.
of a regular breast.
No, the benefits to humankind. Yeah, well, that's all very helpful. You're just frightened half the boys who are listening to this away from listening to Triple J. You haven't asked me about Serpil's party.
Ah, that's right.
Later. We'll do it later.
Okay.
Because there are many issues to be raised about.
Serpil, the former producer's
Yeah.
going away party.
Yeah, and why you weren't there.
You were in such big trouble, Bob.
See?
We'll talk more after this.
I'm there and you're not there. Young Knives with Rue the Days, John, Triple J and Sunday Night Safran.
Hey, Bob, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
Now, You know the phenomena where there's like a good person or someone who's perceived as being good and they're in the public eye, and it's like, oh, that wonderful person, but then they're brought down by the exposure of their disgusting private life or some disgusting act that no one ever knew. And it's like, oh my God, that person was wonderful, but now we see this. And
Yes.
what happens
yes.
if it? What do you do if it happens in reverse? So just say there's
A criminal?
No, just say there's like a convicted child molester.
Yes.
Right? And so he's like, you know,
Outside the pale, as they
of
would
society. But then he saves 1,000 people from being blown up by a terrorist, right?
Yeah.
So through an act of bravery, he saves all these people. So what happens? Does he get, like, would he get a medal from the Prime Minister?
No.
And would the press label him a hero? Would you present him with a medal if they said, Father Bob, this guy saved 1,000 people from getting thrown up, being blown up by an act of bravery?
Well, you'd have to work out who you would offend by doing it first. The parents, the friends of the children whom he had molested, so to speak. I don't know, John, to be perfectly honest, but I would say that in your theology and mine, there is room for redemption. One can buy back one's reputation. Now, whether that's enough to save how many people?
1,000.
Well, you might have to bump it up. 2,000
So
people.
1,000, no medal. 2,000, you
Yes.
get a medal.
Yes. Small medal. 10,000, medal and ribbon. Thanks for that. Very grateful for that little hypothetical.
Now, there's been further controversy in the Growing Up Asian in Australia, edited by Alice Pung.
What's happened this
paper.
time?
Well, it doesn't involve me. There was a back and forth with the publisher because she wanted on the front of her book of Growing Up Asian in Australia. She wanted, there's a picture on the cover and it's like a school class and then there's one little Asian kid who's one of the kids. Mm-hmm. And she wanted him yellow because that was her like art, she's the author. But the publishers were like, no, we can't do it yellow because it's like it will be, people won't order the book, they'll think it will be an outrage, it'll be like the biggest controversy since Satanic Verses was released. So they sent her back a cover and the kid was blue.
Ah.
And she sent back going, listen, he can't be blue. The kid
My
can't be
nephew's blue, and that's...
The kid can't be blue. Make the kid yellow, for freaking sake. Back to the publisher. And now they've come up with a compromise. He's like this gold... I've seen the cover. It's like a golden cover, so it's a bit both ways, where you can't quite prove that the reason they've made the Asian kid yellow is to do a little joke about how the Asian people are sometimes called yellow. You can't quite prove it, but he is still yellow.
Fascinating. But we used to be able to do that, didn't we, in my day? Oh, sorry, I've gone back before the day you were born, when all history began. But I think we used to be able to do yellows. What about Afro-Americans? Are you allowed to make them dark?
We're not even allowed to make them
No,
dark.
when you draw them.
I don't know. Probably safer. Just don't draw African American. Don't draw anyone, Bob, because you'll upset people.
Mess it up.
Yes.
What about us?
I had that thing, but what you're saying, because I remember Oprah Winfrey went on this campaign. She was going, "There's not enough black dolls," and then I was thinking, "Hang on," but there were like gollywogs. But then everyone was saying, "Oh, you can't have gollywogs," and then it's sort of like it's like a grey area. Like at what point is it a caricature that is offensive or I don't know. Do you remember when we had the gollywog?
Yes,
maker?
I remember the white gollywog.
This was, dear listener, I hope I haven't
This is a long time ago.
I hope I haven't bored you with this story before. But we had this woman on, and we won't mention her name, and she was like this old lady, and she made gollywogs, and then there was some magazine where her gollywog was going to be on the front of this dolls magazine, and then it got pulled. And it was like, oh, no, we can't do that. And so we were interviewing this woman, and we thought it was like, oh, this poor old woman who's sort of like just, she's not political or anything like that, and this unfortunate things happened to her, right? That's how we went into the interview. But as we started asking her questions, it soon became apparent that she really was a bit racist against black people, and we didn't know where to take the interview then. Very awkward.
But you took it beautifully in the right direction.
I did. I was very...
Not that I can remember. but
No,
I
you
will
can't.
say that.
So
you've
sometimes gollywog makers are, in fact, not inadvertently just old delightful.
Yeah,
old
I need
sometimes
some
they
new.
are
I need
bigots.
some new bears for my church.
Well, what does that even mean?
Stuffed toys.
For what? For who?
Well, I had 30, 40 bears up in one corner of the church where the kiddies could play with stuffed toys.
yes. And what's happened
On
to
a
them?
Sunday. Well, I just noticed the other day that they're down to about 12.
Are people nicking them from
Well,
the
I
church?
don't know if people are nicking them, or they're running out on their own.
Have you had anything stolen from the church since last time?
Oh, not since last time. Last time was a very big brass candlestick. Was moved out on New Year's Eve after the Protestants had been there for a church service. Yeah, next day I went over and the huge candlestick had gone. Now, you can't blame the Protestants, can you, for being there the night before?
Although it does sound suspicious,
See,
doesn't
very
it?
big candle thing.
So what's your current policy on leaving the door open?
I leave it open 7 till 7, 7 days a week.
Is that if people want to nick stuff? Because it is delicate.
I'm tempting fate. See? Because there are people who come up there who do not just come up for looking for help, but in fact mean to pinch something. But still, stubborn Bob, Virgo, September the 14th, can't change mind. Once it's on, it's on.
We're going to be talking to one of your fellow preachers, a rapping friar, after this, Father Bob.
Santa Gold with You'll Find a Way, John, at Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Joining us for Religious Song of the Week, we have a rapping Franciscan friar, Father Stan Fortuna. How are you?
Doing good. How's it going over there?
We are doing fantastically. Now, what came
Great.
first? Were you a musician first, or were you a man of the cloth first?
I'm a musician first.
So, what was your background? How did you arrive at music?
Well, I was just a gift given to me. So my whole life long, I was always doing music. I was probably doing music when I was inside my mother's belly, inside the womb. So.
And then when did it move on? When did you become a man of God?
Well, everybody's born a child of God, but then I became a man of God actually after my conversion kind of, turned my life around, and then.
And when was the conversion?
I was about like 23 years old when that started happening. It was through a Catholic Bible study group, and it was the power of the Word of God that really kind of turned me inside out and upside down, and still keeps me spinning to this day. But I entered the Franciscans in 1979. So that's when I kind of, I thought the music thing was kind of finished, because I was entering the Franciscans, and I thought, no music and no instruments or anything like that. And then it turned out to be the exact opposite of what I thought it was going to be,
Now, Father Bob.
Yeah, but you're coming, aren't you, to Sydney for the World Youth Day?
Yeah, I'm coming. Yep, I'll be there.
July?
Yep.
So we're looking forward to that. But I've just... the mix of rap and religion is taken for granted in the US of A, is it not? And I suppose in Australia it's only a fraction of the culture that it is in the US of A. Do you reckon it'll be all right? It'll be transferable?
Oh, yeah, I've already been there. I've already been in Sydney. I've already done that, and it works. And it's not necessarily presumed, USA. People here...
Ooh, there seems to be some sort of...
big stigma. Yeah, it's like it's something like not good about it, and a lot of times there's something that's not good about that kind of music as it is in the mainstream culture. Not always, but just most of the time. However, the form itself, the genre, because even the genre of classical music, there's satanic worshipers, man, that are playing like classical instruments and playing classical music, you can say the same thing with using like a camera. There's great ways to use the camera, but the genre of the moving picture is not a bad thing in and of itself. Now, it depends what you're taking pictures of, you know what I'm saying? But the genre itself is not in and of itself bad. And the beautiful thing about the gospel is that the gospel can take everything and anything that has value in human life and potential and turn it around and raise it up. So essentially for me, the rap thing, it's kind of like poetry in motion, It's like rhythm and rhyme. So.
And have you had any backlash from Catholics who say, no, you should be doing Gregorian chants only?
Well, of course, there's Catholics that want to have Gregorian chant, because Gregorian chant is like the quote unquote the formal mode for the liturgical music of the church. But I'm not doing rap at liturgical and liturgical functions. You know what I'm saying?
But have you ever done it? Vatican II said you could do it.
Well, not necessarily rap. I wouldn't do rap at a mass, like do a rap mass or something like that. I've never done that, and that's something that I wouldn't be interested in doing, because you couldn't. There's what I've done was, like, when I was preaching, I would use some lyrics that I've got. I'd say, for instance, if I'm talking about something that's suicide or something like that, and I'm talking about what a kid is going through, I'm saying, I would break out into some of the lyrics, but with unaccompanied, so just using the lyrics by themselves. Like, you think it's you against the world, feeling low, getting high with supposed friends, smoking dope, no hope, drug dealing, thug money, living life on a tightrope, dollar psychic every day, read the horoscope, feeling low, can't say no, can't cope. What if I did it with my little sister's jump rope? My heart's in pain, it hits me hard with the KO, can't sleep, I'm having visions of a death blow. So I'm talking about something like that, and then all of a sudden it's like, what is he saying? What is he doing? But I wouldn't have the the whole thing with the beat and everything else going on during the liturgy. No, I wouldn't do that. However, outside of the liturgy, then it's something that works. And I've had people who kind of quote unquote do not like rap. Then they hear what I'm doing, and then they hear the message, they hear the content, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, wait a minute, I need to hear this.
Now we're going to be listening to your song, "I'm Loving You." Can you tell us about that song?
Yeah, that's a song that came to me from the last World Youth Day that was in Cologne, and I was driving from Regensburg, Germany, up to Cologne with a friend of mine, and I was just missing, John Paul, who's the one, Pope John Paul, who got this whole thing started with World Youth Day, and so as I'm driving along, I just started the lyrics just started coming to me, and the chorus is basically saying, I'm kind of talking to John Paul, and I'm saying, I'm missing you. I'm on mission with you. I want to do like you. Make me be like you. B16, be with you. B16 is my abbreviated term of endearment for Pope Benedict. B16 for Pope Benedict XVI. B16, be with you. Living extreme like you. Yo, we need more like you. JP, I'm loving you. So that's kind of how it got started.
Thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you down in Australia.
And looking very forward to coming down and being with you. Thanks a million.
Religious Song of the Week.
I'm missing you. I'm on mission with you. I wanna do like you. Make me be like you. B16, be with you. Living extreme like you. We need more like you. I'm loving you. I'm missing you. I'm on mission with you. I wanna do like you. Make me be like you. B16, be with you. Living extreme like you. Yo, we need more like you. JP, I'm loving you. And I'm loving you.
Sparkadia with Space and Time, John. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Do you know my father has a very ecumenical, multi-faith, multinational multicultural collection of skull caps?
No, I didn't know that.
As I was growing up, it's like he didn't just have the regular small one that you see Jews wear.
No.
He, for example, had a fez, a Turkish fez.
Oh.
And he used to go to the community aid abroad shops and buy all these weird ones, from the. Well, the one I remember, he'd always talk about this Uyghur hat he had, and it was like this colourful stitched thing, and he'd go, John, this is a Uyghur hat, and he'd talk about how he got it from the community aid abroad shop, and he was quite proud of it, right?
Where's it come from?
Well, this is what I never really I thought about it that hard or whatever. I just thought it was my crazy dad and his crazy thing or whatever. But then I'm listening, and if I thought anything, I only thought positive things about these Uyghur people, because I was thinking, if they're some group that can get their hats into the community aid abroad shop, surely what a bunch of swell guys they must be. But then I'm lying in bed this week listening to, I think it must have been John Fane or something, because that's all I listened to, and they were talking about the Chinese Olympics. And they were talking about what they're really worried about, what the Chinese government's really worried about in regards to security and terrorism. And then for the first time I hear this word thrown up again where it's like the Chinese government say the main threat will be from the Uyghurs. And then I find out that the Uyghurs, they're from... They're one of the people... You know how we were talking the other week about how the Tibetans want autonomy from China... And so everyone's into the Tibetan movement, but there's all these other regions that are less popular, and they also want autonomy. Apparently, the Uyghurs, they're one of the other groups. They're in the Xinjiang autonomous region, and they want to secede from China. They want to call their place East Turkestan, or Uyghurstan, apparently, depending on how you want. And so
look at this. Your daddy had their hat.
My dad had their hat. So I, as soon as I heard this on John Fane, I immediately contacted my dad and I said, be careful if you're walking around in your Uyghur hat, because people might confuse you for one of the Uyghur terrorists that apparently is going to
we don't want to frighten the Chinese.
Cause havoc at the Olympics.
Frighten the Mandarins.
So when stuff goes down at the Olympics involving the Uyghurs, dear listener, you'll be able to very intelligently give a bit of a background to the Uyghurs to all your friends who don't know who the Uyghurs are. And by the way, even though it's called Uyghurs, it's spelt different. It's spelt more like, it's spelt exactly like Uyghur.
Oh, I see what you mean.
But us Westerners say Uyghurs.
Yeah, they're very fascinating. Of course, Turkestan's close to your home.
Uzbekistan.
Yes. You got hats? Uzbekis?
I think the Uzbeks
has he got a hat? One of them?
I'm not sure exactly. He has a lot. I've got... Do you know what novelty skull caps I have?
What?
Probably I've got a...
But you don't mean skull caps, do you? This Uyghur hat's not a skull cap, like a Jewish skull cap. This is a hat.
Yeah, but you're allowed to wear it. But, listener, by the way, there's no... If you ever have to go... Or if you're invited to a bar mitzvah or a synagogue, there's nothing intrinsically spiritual about the cap. It's like you just have to wear a cap. So
any cap?
Yes. If you're
a baseball cap?
Yes. If you're religious, a baseball cap is as holy as a big furry Jewish hat.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go.
So that little skull cap, say it.
The yarmulke.
Yarmulke.
Don't call it a Yamaha, okay?
A yarmulke.
Like if you go to a Jewish school, then the kids from the non-Jewish school nearby, they call it the Yamaha. And they're like, hey, why are you wearing that Yamaha on your head?
Why aren't you riding it? Yeah. So you don't have to wear that. But I know you've just told me.
Thank
you.
It's
Thank
custom,
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You could.
What about an Australian hat? Is there a specifically Australian hat, or is it that straw hat with the corks?
Yes, you can wear that even.
Because there's a fight in the newspaper, I see, the Australian... I know it's boring, the first 11. Not wearing the baggy green cap, which is associated with the first 11. They were wearing a baseball cap. So people were offended and said, behold, they have betrayed the national... Thank you. Boring. Next. Well, I'm going to self-censor myself. That's all I'm going to do. Say, because otherwise... Listeners, you see, he gives me the look.
I'm not giving
and holds up bits of paper that says, F off. All of that stuff. You've got no idea the bullying that goes on in the studio.
Now, Bob, you weren't at the going away party.
I was at the going away party.
You were not.
I was.
All you did was
when you
drop
walked
off flowers.
into the going... Excuse me, just drop off flowers.
Yes.
I consulted with our friend, Carolyn...
Tran.
In the flower shop.
Yes.
And I said, help me to pick the flowers, help me to put the right... And then I delivered them by hand to...
The pub.
The Maori chief.
Before anyone came
I put
along.
a note on them. Excuse me, I didn't just leave.
I was there 10 minutes early, yes.
Yeah. I had to go and do a church service in
right.
Bandura.
Oh, that's right. You are a priest as well as
exactly,
a radio
Exactly.
celebrity.
Look at this, for heaven's sake. We've had a development in the mind of this man. He's not only an actor, he's an activist. Thank you for that. But you would have, I said, I can trust John, who will stand up at the tiny table. I was shocked. I thought it was going to be a room full. It was a tiny table for much intimacy. You would stand up and say, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Father Bob Maguire, my associate, I would like to say how much he would have loved physically to have been here. However, if you look at the flowers on the table, you can see that he is here in spirit.
So if you're a celibate priest, you're allowed to buy flowers for women still?
Of course.
Okay.
As long as they're pansies.
We'll
The
talk
flowers.
more after this.
Lyrics born with Hot to Death. John Safran on Sunday, Triple J.
Father Bob.
Yes, sport.
The Will Smith, not happy with any existing school in the United States. He's building, or he has built his own school.
Yeah.
And that he's going to send his son
For
to.
his own personal child.
Well, everyone else is allowed to join too, but I think it's going to be quite expensive.
Exy.
And
What's he want?
one of
What
the
does-
programs, it will have at least 6 Scientologists on staff and will teach study technology developed by L. Ron Hubbard. And he's saying, that's just one of the teachings amongst many teachings. They're going to be using various teaching methods. Do you think it matters that much?
What?
If you go to, if you're sent to some religious school where they kind of indoctrinate you with something.
Oh, jeez, I don't know. I don't know, John, I don't know. I mean...
Everyone's back. I was talking...
See, the kid who got caught with a placard saying Scientology is a dangerous cult gets pinched, all right, taken to court. He said, and he was fined, and he was told that he wasn't allowed to do it. So he goes on the web, on the net, and he uses Anonymous to retaliate. See, I'm not aware of this viciousness between Scientology and you.
But what about indoctrination? What about, should schools be able to teach kids, about God and Christ and Moses and Muhammad?
Look, the way we're going, I'd say we should have secular schools that teach secular subjects. The rest can be done in-house.
I told you a couple of weeks ago how the woman from Insight rang me up, that SBS show, because they wanted to do a show on where they talk about religion and in the schooling system. But it seems like all this false premise, like they dodge around the fact that the schools that are often at the top of marks and scores are like the private religious schools. So how does that work? But we're not meant to notice that. So religion. What?
You get your government grants because you are a church school. You get your government grants. If you drop the pretense of being a really religious school of learning, of religious learning, that in fact you would run the risk of losing your government funding. Now, I don't know, I mean, my school at Galilee in South Melbourne is a primary school where I think it would say in the missions, I'm trying to say that in fact, you see, you don't actually brainwash people when you've got them in school, but a cult would brainwash people. But we're saying mainstream religions don't. We all know that they're only there for sharing and caring. When you get to Scientology, you would say, and your friend who was here the other day, that it is a cult.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
So you're
Thanks,
brainwashing. You would say that. Are you saying that? What are you saying about Scientology?
I'm not even talking. I was trying to talk about religion in school.
Will Smith, you were talking about.
Yes.
Building a school and enforcing Scientology as a subject. That's what you were saying.
We'll talk more after this.
Red Jezebel, Kicking Deadly Sins, John Safran on Sunday, Triple J.
I was reading this article on this website, Racialicious.
Yeah.
About interracial dating, and I guess just cross-cultural dating, about sometimes when you're in a minority group and you come to your new land or whatever, or you feel like, you're sidelined in a minority, you want to get revenge by dating someone
in the dominant
group, because you feel like you're kind of like it's vengeance for how you're treated growing up, and it's also showing you're integrating or whatever.
And
there was nothing. I thought that was a very provocative article to have.
Yeah,
it's too complicated. It's like dating's complicated enough without.
Well, I know nothing
people
about dating, as you know.
And yes, you've never even said.
Never been through it, the ordeal.
Me of an interracial date, or just a date in general.
In general, I mean, it's not.
Have I?
Oh,
you haven't.
At 74 years of old age.
What
have
about
not been through the dating, mating,
And you're trying to think of a third
matrix. See what I mean? Yeah, but thank God I met you, because, in fact, you haven't got an unpublished dating or mating experience, have you?
What about when you were in high school before you became a priest? Because you didn't become until you were 18.
We didn't have it. Tribally, it was not acceptable. The Roman Catholics on one side of the street were boys, on the other side of the street was the girls' school.
You once told me you had a crush on one particular girl.
Did I say that? What,
yes.
in a moment of weakness?
Yes, you said when you were very...
grade 6.
Yes.
Yes.
Who was that?
That's years ago. Who was that? I'm not going to name the child now. She might be dead. Most of the people I know are dead. In fact, I suspect that you're dead.
Do you think this is an M. Night Shyamalan
Yes, I
film?
think. I'm quite sure.
Where I'm actually... yes.
Yes. I'm sure of it. There's no question about it. But anyway, I mean, be that as it may, your current situation is, tell Australia, is that you are available.
No, that's not true. Don't listen to them. I'm in a polygamous relationship with several Mormon women at the moment.
Relationships. Fascinating material, John. What about, are you going to let me mention Century 21 is donating 50% of our selling fees to the Father Bob Maguire Foundation if your property is listed through June and July 2008. Now, don't say I can't do it, because I've done it. City of Port Phillip. Thank you, Century 21.
Hopefully...
What, Mr. Scadden's not listening?
Hopefully, coming up after this, we'll be talking...
sorry, Mr. Reston.
Very soon, if not after this, soon after this, to an author about Richard Nixon
James Reston Jr.
This is Sunday Night Safran with John Safran and Father Bob.
Joining us on the line, Father Bob.
Yep.
James Reston Jr., who's written a new book, The Conviction of Richard Nixon. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
That's good. Now, I hope you know about Richard Nixon's Quaker past. Do you know anything about his Quaker past?
Yes.
Oh, thank goodness, because we are a religion show. Now, first of all, can you tell us generally who the Quakers are?
Say that again, please.
Can you tell us generally who the Quakers are?
Well, the Quakers are a particularly dour sect in the United States that have no particular accoutrements of religion other than a meeting room, and they get about in silence very often, and then someone has an inspiration and speaks from the heart and from the spirit.
And they're very big on peace, I believe.
That's right. Pacifism is at the core of Quakerism.
And I guess because most of us weren't even born when Richard Nixon was around, and everything we hear about him is how he was this negative, evil person, that it seems to contrast a lot with his Quaker roots.
Yes, well, I think there are two central ways in which it conflicts. One would be the attitude towards armed conflict, and of course he began his adult life in the United States Navy. There's a good bit of speculation as to whether he had real soul searching to go into the military as opposed to avoiding that service by conscientious objection. And then the other aspect that seems to come into great conflict is his language on the Watergate tapes.
What was there? Lots of swear words?
Which was very crude and quite dispiriting to those who thought that he was a fine Quaker.
When he was president, what kind of claims did he make about his Quaker roots? Did he play them up? Did he say, yes, I am a proud Quaker, or did he just leave it unspoken?
Well, I think he says that it's very, very important to the formation of his early life. But of course, there's a sense of great denial in Quakerism. I mean, one's not supposed to drink or do a number of other evil things like that when you're young. It's very, a very limited religion and limiting. So that sense of denial that comes from his Quaker childhood, I think psychologists would think that's quite important.
So was there never anything controversial about the Quakers? Like if you think about John F. Kennedy, all he was a Catholic, and that's pretty mainstream. And he was considered very controversial when going for president and being a Catholic. Why wasn't it controversial being a Quaker?
Well, I suppose it would have been controversial if it was really ever thought that Richard Nixon was following strictly along the Quaker lines, but because he certainly made it through the soul search to go into the American military and was a naval officer, that was sort of set to rest as any sort of an instinct towards pacifism. No, I think it may be more important, sort of in a psychological sense, of that sort of sense of being denied what other rowdy young men might have been engaging in.
Oh, really? So he didn't sow his wild oats, and you think maybe that exploded later on?
I think it's more a question of repression. That there is a certain sense of repression there that he went through, sexual and otherwise, in a much more broader social sense that, he just was not allowed or was not supposed to do things that other young men were doing.
And when he was in power, did other Quakers ever make any statements about him or form any views, or did they say, how can you do that, Richard Nixon? That goes against the Quaker values?
I'm sure there were such people, but I don't think he was paying much attention, to be honest.
Now, your book, The Conviction of Richard Nixon, which isn't a lot about the Quakers, but thank you very much for talking to us about that. And that's out now. Thank you very much for joining us, James Reston, Jr.
You bet.
This Old Love with Lee Orr.
Father Bob, let's thank our guests who are on tonight. Paul Dillon from who's helping with the exhibition Drugs, A Social History. Mm-hmm. Richard Walsh, who talked about his new book, Great Australian Eulogies. We spoke to the Rapin Friar, Father Stan Fortuna, and we spoke to James Reston about Nixon and the Quakers.
Yep.
And thank you very much, David,
and
for your
David's
first
night, and goodbye to Serpiel. If anybody wants to check me on fatherbob.com.au, you're welcome.
Or go to triplej.net.au/Safran and type stuff.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Father Bob. We will talk again next week.